Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Gerald Mohr stars in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe from January 8th, 1949. And Philip Marlowe, of course, the Raymond Chandler character. This episode on CBS is entitled The Restless Day. Let's listen, shall we?
They all knew he was aboard the yacht when it exploded and sank, and everybody called his death an accident. That is, everybody except the corpse himself. He said it was murder.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character as CBS presents The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. And now, with Gerald Mohr, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Restless Day.
It had been a long, hard Saturday night that topped off a long, rugged week. When I finally got to bed dog-tired at 5 a.m. Sunday morning, I was planning to stay there until I'd caught up on all the sleep I'd lost and gained a running head start on the coming week. And by 3 in the afternoon on the day of rest, I figured that job was only about half done. But whoever it was that started riding my doorbell had a different idea. I held out until the buzzer stopped, but it was only a change of tactics, so I gave up. All right, I know when I'm licked. Just a minute.
Thank heaven you're in, Mr. Marlowe. I don't know what I'd have done otherwise. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Here, read this. This story on the front page.
What?
No, down here.
Oh, yacht explosion, death labeled accident, huh?
Yes.
Oh. Mystery blast which destroyed the Rollins yacht at Santa Monica Friday night, and in which Benjamin Rollins, noted cosmetics manufacturer, was killed, was established today by police investigators as accidental.
Sorry, I spoke too much.
That's all right. The explosion which shattered and sank the 50-foot pleasure boat was caused by a leaking fuel line. Rollins, known to be a chain smoker, is believed by witnesses to have continued on page 7.
Never mind, Marlowe. I'll tell the rest.
Yeah, think you'll make it?
There are two frightening things wrong with that story.
Well, go ahead. Frighten me.
First, the explosion was no accident. That fuel line was repaired a week ago. Second, Ben Rollins was not killed.
You're shaking my faith in the American press. How do you know all this?
Because I am Benjamin Rollins.
Yes, well, look, fella, you better dial 116 on the phone and tell the police all about it, huh?
No, that's exactly what I can't do. Someone's tried to murder me. If they find out I'm still alive, I'll be a target for a second attempt.
Wait a minute. I need two things right now. One, a cup of coffee. Would you like some?
No, milk, if you please. My doctor insists.
Okay, come on. The other's a good, solid explanation of why everybody thinks you were aboard that yacht.
Well, first, they believe my body was lost in the explosion. You see, I intended to spend the night there because Lucille, my wife, and I quarreled.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a call, and I had to go out of town on business at the last minute. I went out to the boat, but only to pick up some papers. I was in a hurry. I must have left the lights on. I lost my hat in the wind on the way back. It was found in the water. Apparently, I didn't secure the dinghy because that was adrift offshore. Mind you, I read all this in the paper when I got back this morning.
Back from where?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Figures.
I came in on the California Limited. You can check on that. Marlowe, I must know who tried to kill me before they know they've failed.
That could be tough. Have you got any ideas?
Yes, I have. It might be any one of 3 people.
3?
For instance, Walter Pittman, my ex-partner, threatened to kill me less than a month ago in New York when I won another court decision from him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's my business manager, a fellow named Slater. I almost fired him last week, the arrogant fool. It's always when I get cross this comes.
I see.
And I'm sorry to say it, but Mrs. Rollins would no doubt rather have me dead than alive. That's quite a lineup for a mere cosmetics chemist, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Look, you haven't been running lipstick experiments with somebody else's live equipment, have you, Rollins?
Oh, certainly not. I've been working so hard I haven't time for my wife. To say nothing of another woman. Oh, Marlowe, I'm frightened. I must get to the bottom of this. I'll pay you double your usual fee. Will you help me?
Okay, Rollins, it's a deal. If I hurry, I might get in on your funeral. Under the circumstances, that should make somebody due for a very big surprise. I was shaving a shower later, and I checked my wheezing client's credentials, settled him down in my apartment with orders to answer the phone, but not the door, and drove out to Santa Monica, where the not very late Ben Rollins had made his home. I had a list of names, addresses, and phone numbers of people close to Rollins. That is, close enough to kill. I decided that Arthur Slater, the business manager, was my best bet for an opener. He had been described as soft-spoken, efficient, and somewhat arrogant. And after I found his cottage on Seaview Drive and walked up to the door, I heard someone inside offering a similar description, but with more color.
Mighty routine, Arthur Slater. If you think for 2 minutes you can throw little Angie over any time you feel like it after all the promises you've made, you're wrong.
That's just about enough, Angie.
Not by half, brother. I know which way the wind is blowing, and it's a nice big wind. Nobody kicks me out, and I mean nobody. So think it over, Mr. Big. Oh, get out of my way.
Yes, ma'am. Cute kid. Friend of yours, Slater?
Who are you? Another insurance investigator?
That's right. My name's Marlowe. May I come in?
Yes, certainly. All the others did.
Thanks. Who knows? I may be the last. Slater, I've got 3 reasons for believing that yacht explosion was no accident.
Not an accident? What reasons are you talking about?
For one, Walter Pittman.
Pittman? You mean Rollins' ex-partner?
You know him, huh?
Well, only by name. I never met the man.
All right, then. Let's talk about reason number 2, Lucille Rollins. How do you feel about her, Slater?
Well, you must be out of your mind, Marlowe. She and Ben fought constantly, yes.
Slater, I asked how you felt about Mrs. Rollins.
I don't like her. And now, what or who is reason number 3?
You are. You had an argument with Rollins last week. He practically fired you.
And you think I'd kill him over that?
Could be.
Look, Marlowe, Ben Rollins drove himself like an overloaded truck. He had a cigarette cough, nervous shakes, and bad dreams. To me, bureau drawer eyelashes and glue-on fingernails simply aren't that important. So we had frequent arguments. Now, do you have any more smart reasons you'd like to discuss, or would you care to leave?
Just one thing more. Why does your girlfriend think you're a little stuck up these days?
You're becoming a bit too personal, Marlowe. Get out. I'm not compelled to answer any of your questions. There's an established legal procedure.
Skip it, Slater. If I need to, I'll be back. And I'm fairly chummy with the boys in blue myself, so I'll get the answers if I want them. Good night, Big Shot. Arthur Slater was like a billiard ball, hard to rub the wrong way. And if he did have an angle, he was playing cagey. So as long as I was in the neighborhood and the trail was hot, I figured I'd have a talk with the Spitfire, Angie. It wasn't hard to trail her. The corner newsboy had heard her get into a cab. The cabbie swore he'd never forget her. Swore again. So finding her apartment was less trouble than unfolding a $5 bill. When I pulled up across the street from her place, I noticed a big car as big as the average garage and older than last year's college graduate parked in front. It was a black Pierce Arrow and someone with a mouthful of cigar hugged behind the wheel. The cigar was pointed at me as I crossed the street. When I went up the stairs to Angie's door, it was still pointed at me. But I forgot about that when the apartment door opened. Angie was relaxed. There were little glints of gold in her green eyes. And the warm lights behind her shimmered on soft waves of hair, the shade of burnished copper. Maybe she was a Spitfire, but at the moment, her damper was down.
Yeah? Well, Buster, you got your mouth open. You might as well say something.
Angie, who do you think murdered Ben Rollins?
Oh, murdered? My mistake, chum. Good night.
Just a minute. This is business, honey.
Who are you, anyhow?
Philip Marlowe. You ran over me on your way out of Slater's place a few minutes ago and dented my ego.
Well, sue me. Who are you working for, Shamus?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. But I will tell you this, sweetheart. The explosion on that yacht was no accident. So I'm checking up on wives who'd rather be widows.
Lucille Rollins?
Mm-hmm.
Nut. She was rolling in dough either way. She hated her job, but she sure didn't have to kill to quit. Get your compass fixed, Marlowe.
Wrong way, huh? Well, suppose Lucille were in love with Pittman, maybe.
Pittman? Who's he?
Shot in the dark. Tell me something, Angie. Your boyfriend Slater has picked up a lot of push lately. How come?
Some big deal they've been working on at the plant. And he makes me sick. Gets the first sniff of a success, and suddenly all his hats are too small.
Especially his old hats, honey. And you can't blame the guy if he's really on his way up now, can you?
Listen, Mac, I'll tell you, him, and the whole world something. Nobody is going to put little Angie on the skids. If there's a heave-ho pulled around here, Mr. Hotshot Slater himself will get it, and right in the neck. So if you happen to be snooping for him, Marlowe, you can putter right back and tell him so. Now beat it.
That's not a bad idea. Oh, by the way, what's Angie stand for?
Angelica? But don't count on it, brother. Don't count on it.
As I went down the front steps, the cigar and the black Pierce Arrow lined up on me again and followed me as I crossed the street and got into my car. It was still pointing at me as I drove away, but after all, the street was public property and the guy could smoke a cigar if he wanted to. Well, by the time I knocked on the front door of the Rawlins home, I was braced for a deluge of tears and a session of red-eyed hysteria. So I was caught off balance by the handsome blonde woman of 35 with a wry, crisp waistline who was cool, calm, and well-collected in green slacks. She introduced herself as Lucille Rawlins.
Sit down, Mr. Marlowe. You said you're a friend of Ben's?
That's right, Mrs. Rawlins. I stopped by to offer my condolences. But apparently condolences aren't much in order today. No tears, huh? Not even crocodile tears.
I'm not a hypocrite, Mr. Marlowe, that's why. I'm merely stunned and confused over this terrible accident, and I'm not sure yet how I feel.
Yeah, it was an accident, all right. Especially since that leaky fuel line that caused it was repaired a week ago.
It had been repaired?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Who are you, Marlowe?
I'm a private detective, and I know a lot more than that. I know, for instance, that the insurance on the boat alone will keep you in pretty doodads for several years. And that's only a drop in a bucket.
Mr. Marlowe, I think you'd better leave.
And I think you better climb down off that high horse and listen. Because I haven't even started yet. Ben was a hated man by Pittman, by Slater, and maybe by you. And I can prove he didn't die accidentally, baby, so I'd like some nice straight answers, huh? When did you see Pittman last?
I've never seen Walter Pittman. I don't even know what he looks like. Ben and I were married 2 years ago. He broke with Pittman long before that.
But you're pretty chummy with Arthur Slater.
That's a lie. Why, we hardly spoke until a week ago.
You picked a poor time to get friendly, baby.
Listen here, Marlowe. Mr. Slater, I ran into each other purely by accident one afternoon last week. I happened to stop in at a small bar in downtown Los Angeles. Mr. Slater was there at a table talking with some man, a stranger to me. When he saw me, he came over. He seemed upset. So upset.
Wait a minute. Is there anyone else here now?
I know. My maid went out to the movies. What's that?
I heard something, a noise. Sounded like it came from the service porch. Come on, let's have a look.
Well, I don't know what anyone...
Hey!
The lights went off.
Somebody turned them off. You better... Lucille, look out! The bullets, which had been intended for Lucille, had only traveled the width of the kitchen, but miraculously both had missed. Whoever had thrown them moved out fast, because when I got through the service porch and into the backyard, nothing stirred, except the restless ends of a pepper tree. But a second later, a heavy, clanking motor roared on the side street, and I got to the fence just in time to see a boxcar on rubber tires skid around the corner. It was a black Pierce Arrow. I went back to the house, found the master switch, and turned on the lights. Lucille, her face strained and bloodless, stood in the kitchen door and watched me. A hole had been punched in the back screen door, and on the floor was a strange object which had been used to unhook the lock. It looked like an oversized bobby pin wearing rubber pants, which didn't mean a thing to me. But to Lucille, who stared at it like it was a centipede she just found in a cream puff, it meant plenty.
Ben.
What?
It's like Ben himself was here. Like he wasn't killed at all.
What are you talking about? What is this thing, anyway?
I don't know. Part of some new invention he was working on. For the last month, Ben carried 2 or 3 of these things with him everywhere.
Look, Lucille, where's your phone?
Right there.
Oh.
But, Marlowe, you don't suppose... Who are you going to call?
Friend of mine. He'd better be in, too. Go.
Marlowe. What's the matter, Marlowe? Busy?
Yeah, busy. He's either talking to someone or he's gone out after leaving the phone off the hook. And either way, Lucy, that makes my friend very busy.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. But first...
January 8th, 1949, Philip Marlowe on Classic Radio Theater. Well, you've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, the inventor of My Pillow, and how his pillow's given me a great night's sleep. He continues to roll out new offers on his products. His latest on the towel sets. Now, towels aren't something you think about I never knew what I was missing till I tried the towels last year. You've all helped build Mike Pillow into the incredible company it is today, and trust in Mike Lindell has given you a better night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with a 6-piece towel set, USA cotton, extremely absorbent, yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. 2 bath, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths for a limited time, $39.95 using our promo code USA. It retails for over $100. Remember, all MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, use this promo code USA to get this price of $39.99 on the towels, or call 1-800-951-8175. Now on Classic Radio Theater, more of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Gerald Mohr, January 8th, 1949.
And now, with our star, Gerald Mohr, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Restless Day.
When I left Lucille Rawlins, the feminine target for tonight, I headed for Angie Gordon's, where I'd first seen the man with a cigar in his face, who I suddenly figured might be Walter Pittman. And as I drove, I felt like my brains had spent the night playing leapfrog in a squirrel cage. Because any way I'd call the dice, every one of my clients suspected of murdering him to somebody else. And just to keep things from making any sense at all, I suspected my client. I pulled up near Angie's and saw the Pierce Arrow parked, lights and a man with cigar out. When I got close to the bungalow door, I knew that the lady was at home.
Now, look here,
and that she was receiving a gentleman
yes,
caller, more or less.
Tell me your name is Smith, which incidentally I don't believe. And then you start asking a lot of very personal questions. How cozy.
Now, please, you do not understand. There are certain things about the death of Ben Hollins that I must know. Things that mean a lot to me.
How much a lot?
Well, $100 maybe.
What? Now, don't tell me that's all you could stuff into that briefcase there in your hand.
Listen, girl, I must know whether that explosion on the boat was an accident or not.
The police let it go as an accident?
Never mind that. You are Slater's girl. You must know something about him as well as the other one who was here. Now, you tell me. Quick.
Stay away from me, you big lug. I don't know anything.
Tell
Let
me.
go of me, Mom. Let go.
You heard the lady, Pittman. Let go.
How do you know my name?
I read tea leaves. And while we're all asking questions, do you mind telling me why you were throwing bullets at the Chinaware on Mrs. Rollins?
I did no such thing. I don't even know Mrs. Rollins.
You're a liar, and it's dull as the sauerkraut. The gun in your pocket will prove it.
I have no gun in my pocket. Here, look for yourself.
All right, I will. But if it's all the same to you, I'll start with your briefcase.
Give me that.
Why, so you can get to the gun first?
No, because all right, Mr. Smart Man. Go ahead and look. See for yourself that there's absolutely nothing there that concerns you.
When I get my hands on you, I'll break you in
Still,
two.
Marlowe. And don't look so astonished, friend. It's called a gun.
Why, you little...
Skip it, Marlowe. It isn't my idea of returning a favor, but it is good business. You see, baby, little Angie sells out to the highest bidder. And no matter how I add things up, that isn't you.
So exit Pittman, huh? Briefcase and...
What are you staring at?
That little gadget there. Must have fallen out of Pittman's briefcase.
What is it?
Twin brother of an item I found a little while ago, rubber pants included.
What are you talking about, Marlowe?
Nothing, baby. Just tell me how long I sit here.
As long as you like. Now, you see, Marlowe, I just can't afford to let you get to Pittman ahead of me.
Yeah. That good business you were talking about.
Uh-huh. After all, a gal's got to make a living. One way or another, Marlowe. Doesn't she?
There was room to debate Angie's point, but no time. So I skipped her invitation for a drink. Both promised and threatened to see her again and headed for my car in the only direction left. The residence of the local pivot man, Mr. Arthur Slater. When I got to within a block of the place, I parked and then approached slowly, keeping to the shadows all the way. But the house turned out to be as dark and quiet as the inside of a coffin. I was about to leave when some noise a dozen yards behind me said that I was no longer alone. I turned quietly and got ready for what I figured would be a reunion with my old buddy, Walter Pittman. But I was wrong. Sneaking through a nearby clump of orange trees with all the deftness of an ox with bunion trouble was no one else but my client, Ben Rollins. When I called his name out loud, he ran toward me, arms and legs flailing the wind like a Kansas scarecrow caught in a tornado.
Marlowe.
Marlowe, I've been looking all over for you.
Rollins, why aren't you back in my apartment where you're supposed to be?
I couldn't wait any longer. I was afraid something had happened to you. When you didn't call, I was sure of it. I thought you might be here at Slater's.
But I did call, and all I got was a busy signal.
Oh, about an hour ago. Why, that was a friend of yours. He wanted to know if you'd play cards with him tonight. Now, do you believe me?
Oh, for the time being, yes. Incidentally, Rollins, do these mean anything to you, these oversized bobby pins?
Good Lord, the curlers. Where did you get those curlers, Marlowe? They should be in my safe.
Well, I found one at your house and the other in a briefcase that belonged to Walter Pittman.
Marlowe, these are samples of my newest invention, these hair curlers. They can produce a home permanent wave overnight that will last for 6 months. it's worth millions to me.
If you live.
Yes. Now, it should be easy to figure out who wanted to kill me.
I'm not so sure. If you didn't even know these were missing, why should someone have to kill you to get hold of them? And second of all, how come the shooting's still going on?
What shooting are you talking about?
Over at your place. Somebody tried to kill your wife there just before I called you. And that brings us right back to your alibi about talking to Ibarra at the time. It's a little too pat, Rollins. Besides, that curler could very easily have dropped out of your pocket.
But why should I shoot at Lucille?
For the best reason in the books, you wanted to kill her. And when that yacht business almost boomeranged on you, you still hadn't changed your mind. And that led to this whole routine with me double-billed as Patsy and star witness both.
Oh, you're out of your mind, Marlowe. I couldn't have set that explosion on the yacht as a trap for Lucille.
Why not?
Because it was on account of me that Lucille wasn't on the yacht herself that night.
What?
What indeed? January 8, 1949, Philip Marlowe on Classic Radio Theater.
You know, if you feel like you're stuck with a health care plan you don't like, right now is a great time to switch to MediShare. They'll waive your new member fee if you join by January 15th. So that's $170 in addition to all the other savings. The typical family saves $500 or more per month. And MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate when compared to health insurance. Double. Again, join by January 15th and save even more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater, the conclusion of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Gerald Mohr, January 8th, 1949.
After we argued, we decided not to spend any more time under the same roof. Lucille said that suited her fine and she'd sleep on the yacht. We let it go at that till about noon on Friday.
And you got small about things and said the yacht was yours, maybe? That you'd sleep on it?
Yes. I was just bickering.
Just a minute, Rollins. I've heard enough, and I think I finally understand this whole screwy deal. I'll know for sure just as soon as I can make one single phone call to your house. We'll get back to Slater. Come on. When I got to a telephone and through to the maid at the Rollins place, I was almost positive that in another minute I'd have both a solid answer from my client and a couple of clumsy customers for the law. But when the shaky voice at the other end of the tube told me that Lucille had just left the house in high gear, after mumbling something about a place called Inspiration Point, I stopped being confident and started to worry. And when I tossed the jackpot question at the maid and got the winning answer, that worry became something worse, and it must have showed.
What is it, Marlowe? What did you find out?
Too much to explain now. Where's Inspiration Point, Rollins?
About a mile south of here, straight along the shore.
Good. What kind of a car does your wife drive?
A blue Nash. What's Inspiration Point got to do with Lucille, Marlowe?
Everything. Now, look. You call the cops and tell them to get out there as fast as they can. Do you get me? As fast as they can. Inspiration Point turned out to be an acre of windswept rock that overlooked the cold January sea. After I saw Lucille's empty car, I crept, staggered, and fell down the narrow, winding trail that led from the road to the promontory itself. I was afraid that I was going to be too late to stop what I was sure was a hastily scheduled murder. But a minute later, when I rounded the last crazy turn in the trail, I felt better. Because standing only a couple of yards away from me, her hair slapping wildly against the upturned collar of her coat, and very much alive, was Lucille Rollins. I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when suddenly I caught the expression in her eyes. I turned to follow the line of her unblinking gaze, and I knew that I hadn't arrived any too soon. Because the lady was being held at the point of a gun held by Arthur Slater. I closed my hand tight around the cold .38 in my pocket and moved closer.
When you called me at the house, you said that my husband was alive and with you. Why did you lie to me?
Because I knew that would bring you running. And I had to be alone with you, Lucille, so I could do what I missed doing last time.
Last time? You mean the yacht? You did that?
Yes. But somehow or other, Ben was out there instead of you. So that accident was a waste of time. But this one, the bereaved wife who jumped or fell to her death from the edge of Inspiration Point, won't be.
But why, Slater? Why do you want to kill me?
There's no time to explain, Lucille.
And we'll take time, Slater.
Marlowe, you!
Yeah, me.
Marlowe! Marlowe, he's going to kill me.
Yes, honey, I know. He had to.
But why, Marlowe, why?
Because he stole your husband's invention to sell to Walter Pittman. He was going to go into business with him. Now, when the cops get here, he's going first to a hospital and then to jail. A grand larceny and attempted murder.
Attempted murder? What about Ben, Marlowe?
Ben was a near miss, honey, nothing more. You'll see what I mean in a minute. When Lucille found out that Ben was still alive, there were a lot of tears and promises to be good from both parties. And it wasn't until an hour had gone by and the police had already booked both Slater and Pittman, who was picked up heading back for L.A., that Mr. and Mrs. Rollins were in any condition to sit down and talk things over, even with the help of coffee and cigarettes in the Rollins home.
Then the whole scheme, Marlowe, was designed by Slater, who, as my business manager, had access to the new curlers.
That's right. Knowing how Walter Pittman felt about you, Slater secretly contacted him to handle the manufacturing end, you see?
Yes, I see.
Well, a few changes in the design, and the whole thing would have been patented and on the market while you and Slater...
Pretended that Pittman was a stranger to him.
Were still laboring away at last-minute changes.
And when we learned about Pittman's product, Slater would act as surprised as Ben here.
You're so right, Lucille. That was the plan. Oh, but it fell apart. See, it fell apart when you accidentally ran into Slater in that small bar in downtown L.A., do you remember?
Yes.
When he was with Pittman, the man you described to me as the stranger?
Yes, of course.
All right. Well, he realized then that with Pittman's product a success, you would sooner or later see a picture of Pittman, the newly rich inventor, and recognize him as the man you saw with Slater before Pittman's product was on the market.
So that meant that Slater either had to get rid of Lucy or give up his entire plan.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a match, Mr. No, I'm going to give him up. But Marlowe, was Pittman involved in the murder attempt, too?
Oh, no. He drew the line at the theft. See, when he found out that you had died mysteriously, he turned up here to check on Slater because he couldn't afford to be mixed up in your murder.
I see. But how did you figure all this, Marlowe?
Well, after I had tangled with everybody, I was no place. Angie Gordon was looking for an angle. You, Lucille, were getting shot at, poor darling. Yeah, and Pittman and Slater were not on the same team. At least as far as the business on the yacht was concerned. Nobody seemed to have a clear-cut motive.
But when I told you that Lucille herself was supposed to stay on the yacht that night, you had the answer.
That was the time. After I called your house and asked the maid the jackpot question, which was, who aside from you, Ben, knew that Lucille was going to sleep on the yacht Friday night?
And she said Slater, didn't she?
Yeah. Said something else, too. She also said that you had left for Inspiration Point in a big hurry.
Yes. Then Slater tried to kill me first on the yacht, second in the house here, and finally out on the point.
Mm-hmm. But in the end, it worked out fine, darling. Because the third time was the charm. For us. Well, by the time I was through tying in all the loose ends for my client and his wife, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was dog-tired all over again. When I got into my car and started away from the place, Ben and Lucille were standing in the doorway waving at me and smiling. So as I drove back toward L.A., I forgot about the sleep I was missing and thought about them. A couple who couldn't get along until one or the other of them had been robbed, dynamited, and shot at. Yeah, I guess it's really so. As the old bromide has it, the path of true love never does run smoothly. It's smooth. Oh, well.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, stars Gerald Mohr, and is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Lorette Philbrandt, Edgar Barrier, Virginia Gregg, John Daner, and Jack Moyles. The special music was by Richard Arant.
January 8, 1949, Philip Marlowe on Classic Radio Theater.
What does it mean to be an American? Just what are our American values? Working hard to succeed, loving God, country, and family, being honest, strong, and compassionate.
Supporting our Constitution and recognizing that we are blessed to be living in America, the greatest country in the world.
Our Bill of Rights protects us, our freedoms of worship, speech, and privacy, our right to own firearms, our right to trial by jury,
our right to be free, to live our own lives without some bureaucrat telling us what to do. Most countries don't have these rights.
Want to know more? It's all there in the book. Get your own free book, The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Then read it again, and this time share it with your friends. Our great Constitution is the basis of all of our freedoms, our inalienable rights. Get your own copy at freeusbook.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Now on Classic Radio Theater, an episode of the classic youngsters serial Captain Midnight. This was originally broadcast on January 8th, 1940.
The Skelly Oil Company presents Captain Midnight. Captain Midnight, brought to you 3 times each week by the Skelly Oil Company, Skelly Jobbers and Dealers. But first, we have a distinguished guest in the studio tonight, someone we're especially happy and proud to present to all the air-minded young fellows and girls who follow the adventures of Captain Midnight. For our guest this evening is himself a well-known aviator and flying instructor, Captain Maxwell W. Balfour, director of the Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Captain Balfour, I'm sure there are thousands of our young Flight Patrol members listening in tonight who'd like to know more about what goes on inside a famous aeronautical school like the Spartan School there in Tulsa. And I wonder if you wouldn't tell us something about it.
Why, of course, Don Gordon. It's a privilege to talk to the members of Captain Midnight's famous Flight Patrol. I think the interest these young people are taking in aviation is a wonderful thing for the future of the industry. But about life in a flying school. Well, I might start by telling you what we teach down there. A student can study almost any phase of aviation in which he is most interested at the Spartan School. We have short flying courses for those who simply want to learn to fly as a sport. We have longer courses to turn out qualified commercial pilots. We teach meteorology, radio work, motor mechanics, and airplane construction. We even have our own factory where we manufacture the well-known Spartan monoplanes. Then, of course, we have our special course for government students.
You mean Uncle Sam sends students to the Spartan School?
Oh, yes. We've been a government-approved school for some time. Right now, we're training about 160 flying cadets for the U.S. Army Air Corps every term. We have over 50 planes there for use as training ships.
But tell us, Captain Balfour, doesn't the famous Dawn Patrol have something to do with your school there?
Yes, Don. The Dawn Patrol is an organization of flying students at the Spartan School of Aeronautics. You probably have seen them on some of their big cross-country flights.
Boy, I certainly have, and it was a thrilling sight, too. You certainly must teach them to fly from the ground up there at Spartan.
Well, we try to, Don. I might return your compliment by telling you that we certainly like your Skelly tailor-made gasoline and other Skelly products. We use them exclusively at the Spartan School.
Well, sir, that is a compliment, and thank you. And I want to thank you for all the members of Captain Midnight's 1940 Flight Patrol, too. We certainly enjoyed having you with us on our program tonight, and we hope you'll come again sometime. And now to Captain Midnight. Suspecting that Ivan Shark escaped death in the underground water chamber of the Aztec Temple, Captain Midnight and Chuck hastened to the secret landing field where Ivan Shark's bimotored plane had been hidden. They arrived just in time to see a strange battle on the field, and then the silver-winged ship took off. While the two friends are still hiding in a clump of trees near the edge of the field, a heavy, dark-faced man suddenly makes his way toward them. As he comes within a few steps, Captain Midnight steps forward and commands,
All right. Get those hands up and get them up quick.
Look out.
None of that now. Get those hands up or I'll shoot.
What is this? What do you mean by pulling a gun on me?
Stretch those hands a little higher.
He's got a gun in his holster. Shall I get it?
Yes, Chuck, go ahead.
I don't know what your game is, but you ain't going to get away with it. My men will be looking for me in a minute, and then it'll be too bad.
Have you got his gun, Chuck?
Yeah, I got both of them. He had 2.
Good work. All right, now then, whoever you are. Come on, start marching.
Where to? And if you think you're going to get
Straight
away
ahead. If your men are coming up this way, you'll show up missing.
We better get going. I see some men out in the field now.
All right, start moving quick. And no funny business.
What's your game? I ain't got any dough. That's what you're looking for?
I'm not looking for money. If I were, I'd work for it, not steal it.
So, you're one of them kind of guys, huh? Too good for my kind, eh?
That's right. Now you answer a few questions. What's your name? What are you doing here?
The answer to both of them is the same. None of your business.
He's probably one of Shark's men. Don't you think so, Captain?
Captain? Not Captain Midnight. Yeah. You must be Captain Midnight.
Well, maybe you're right, and maybe you're not.
Oh, if I'd have known how things was going to turn out, I'd have been around to see you.
What do you mean by that?
That dirty double-crossing Ivan Shark. That's what I mean.
Oh, I begin to see the whole thing now. Ivan Shark took off and left this fella behind.
You're a bright young kid. I heard that guy Gardo talking about you. You must be Chuck Ramsey.
Right the first time.
So you're the kid that landed that plane in front of the Aztec temple, huh? I heard Gardo say he didn't know how you got away with it.
I was awfully lucky.
Hold it a minute, Chuck. I think we're safe enough here. All right, now you. What's your name?
My name's Rossman.
Rossman, huh?
Yeah.
What was the fight about on the field a few minutes ago?
Some of us guys didn't like the idea of Shark leaving without us.
When did Shark get over here?
Just a little while ago, just before you two got here, I guess.
Isn't that our luck, Captain Midnight? Just a little bit too late.
It's too late to worry about that now, Chuck. Tell me, Rossman, who went with Ivan Shark in that plane?
Yeah, there was three of them. That daughter of his named Fury, that servant called Fang, and his chief pilot, the guy named Gardo.
The most important ones.
And we had Fang in our hands, too.
I'm the guy that's to blame for that. We raided the Parada place last night and sprung some of the guys you captured.
Oh, so you were the one who was responsible for that, huh?
Yeah, but I sure wouldn't have done it if I knew how things was going to turn out.
If you could read the future, you probably never would have worked for Ivan Shark. Well, Chuck, there's no use staying here. Come on, get going, Rossman. We're taking you back to the hacienda. And don't try to make any false moves. Now, march.
Well, here we are. Look at Senor Pareda's men, Captain Midnight. They got a grin on their faces a mile long.
What are you going to do with me, Captain Midnight? I told you the whole works. How about giving me a break?
I'll talk that over with Senor Pareda. We'll see if he knows anything about you.
Well, look. Here he comes now.
All right.
Ah, mi amigos. You come back to us safely. We have the great worry about you.
Yes, we're all right, Senor Pareda. But we have bad news for you. Ivan Shark is not dead. He has escaped. And with him, his daughter Fury, and the two men, Gardo and Fang.
See me, Capitan. That is not the news to us. We see the silver-winged airplane in the sky. And the Senorita Patsy, she says it is the airplane flown by the Ivan Shark.
We got to the field just a little bit too late, Senor Pareda.
It is the great disappointment, I know, mi amigos. But do not forget, we have the many things for which we should thank the merciful Dios. But tell me, who is this man you have with you?
We captured him at Shark's secret field. He was boiling because Shark had left him there.
Yeah, this Ivan Shark gave me a good double crossing.
Ah, this Ivan Shark, he does not play the square game with you. Is that not it?
Yeah. You got the whole thing in a nutshell.
Have you ever seen this man before, Senor Pareda?
Now that I have the good look at him, Capitan, I am sure I have seen him with Ivan Shark.
What do you want done with him?
That is for you to decide, mi Capitan.
Well, we'll turn him over to the authorities with the other prisoners. If he has no police record, he'll be freed.
They ain't got nothing on me, Captain Midnight. I'm telling you the truth. I served a stretch, but it wasn't in Mexico. I was going straight until this Ivan Shark talked me into working for him. But this business has taught me a lesson. I'm going straight from now on.
I hope you're telling the truth, Rossman. It'll pay out. I can promise you that. All right, Chuck, march him away. Place him with the other prisoners.
Right you are, Captain. And after I put him in the guardhouse, I'll go see how Patsy and the others are getting along.
Right.
You will find them very, very happy, mi amigo. They rejoice with my people.
I'll bet they're happy, Senor Pareda. I'll see you after a while, Captain Midnight.
Okay.
All right, Rossman. Come along this way.
Ah, mi Capitan, I am the happiest man in the world.
I'm very glad, Senor, to help bring about this happy conclusion. Of course, it's a disappointment not to capture Ivan Shark, but I'm thankful things have turned out as well as they have.
Ah, mi Capitan, you say the very true words. We have so much to be thankful for. And I, Senor, I can never repay you for what you have done. Is there not something, mi Capitan, which I can do for you?
I was merely doing my duty in trying to capture Ivan Shark, Senor. You do not need to feel obligated.
But there is the one thing on which I must insist. You and your amigos must stay with me at my hacienda for the long visit.
I wish we could, Senor Pareda, but I'm afraid it would be impossible.
But, mi Capitan, this Chuck Ramsey and the Senorita and the Senora Donovan, they like it here. And they like me Dolores, mi Pablo. You must make the visit, mi Capitan, for the year at least.
What, Senor Pareda? Stay here for a year's visit?
If it were not for you, Senor, I would not have the hacienda at all. What I should like to do is to give you part of the lands. Then you shall build the hacienda of your own, and you shall stay here for always.
Well, much as I'd like to stay here a little while, it's quite impossible. But we might come down sometime in the future and visit you.
See me, Capitan. You must make me the visit. At least before you go, you will stay for the big fiesta.
We shouldn't wait at all, Senor Pareda, but... Well, we do need the rest. We'll stay if you have the fiesta right away.
See me, Capitan. We will have the fiesta tomorrow. All my people are so happy. We will have the music and the dancing in the great courtyard under the stars. And there will be the many good things to eat.
Very well, senor. We'll stay for the fiesta. Then we must leave.
See me, Capitan. You will be glad you stayed for the fiesta.
And on the other side of the hacienda, in the sun-flooded garden, 2 boys and a girl are chatting happily together. Chuck Ramsey, Patsy Donovan, and Senor Paredes' nephew, Pablo. Listen as Patsy exclaims,
Gee, Chuck, that reminds me. There's one thing I've been wanting to ask you.
Sure, Patsy, what is it?
I managed to find out a little bit. Enough to know that you and Captain Midnight and Ivan Shark were all together down in that water chamber below the Aztec temple. How in the world did you ever get out?
Well, see me, amigo, how did you do it? Senor Paredes says it's the most marvelous thing in the world.
Gosh, if it hadn't been for Captain Midnight, I never would have gotten out. Well, here's the way it happened.
Begin at the beginning. How did you get in there?
Well, you remember we heard some shots and shouting which seemed to come from the lower part of the temple? Well, Captain Midnight and I ran down the passageway and finally ended up in the water chamber. Only at that time, there wasn't any water in it. In fact, we didn't know it could be flooded at all.
Well, who did you find down there?
Well, we got inside. We found Ivan Shark.
Jiminy crickets.
Lupin Lukes. What happened then?
Well, Captain Midnight covered Shark. And while he did that, the stone door closed behind us. And then the water started coming in.
Can you tie that?
At first, we thought that Ivan Shark was caught in there with us. But we didn't know that Fury Shark was outside and was going to let him out at 12 o'clock. Only she was stopped from doing it by Von Griff and Lutro.
Gosh, I see the whole thing.
Well, pretty soon, the water was almost up to the ceiling, and we were swimming. But by that time, Captain Midnight had done some investigating at the other end of the chamber.
You mean underneath the water?
Yeah, and he'd discovered that the storm had weakened the rock wall around the valve which was letting the water in. Some of the rocks had broken out, and finally, when the water was almost up to the ceiling, Captain Midnight told me to take a big breath and dive down and follow him.
And you mean you got out of that hole?
We sure did. It was a tight squeeze, but we made it. I thought my lungs were going to burst before I came to the surface in the river outside.
Oh, Jiminy crickets.
I don't know how you did it. But gosh, I guess Ivan Shark must have got out the same way.
Well, that's what Captain Midnight thinks. In fact, it was the only way he could have gotten out.
Oh, look, me amigos. You see out through the garden gate? There are the airplanes which belong to this Ivan Shark. But he has vamos now. And Senor Paredes says you are to stay with us for the long time. We will have the flying school, and I will learn to fly. Come on, Chuck, you will give me the first lesson now.
I don't know if we'll be able to stay that long. But come on. We'll do what we can before we start on the trail of Ivan Shark once more.
Say, what a happy group of people are gathered together at Senor Paredes' hacienda. But in all this joy, there are a few dark clouds on the horizon. Ivan Shark has escaped. And also, what has happened to Major Barry Steele and Bud Conley, who flew away in Captain Midnight's Spartan cabin plane, and from whom nothing has been heard. More thrilling adventures are ahead. Don't miss the next one.
From January 8th, 1940, Captain Midnight here on Classic Radio Theater. Don't forget that our podcasts are still available, and you can find them. Go to my webpage, classicradio.stream. If you search through any other podcast apps, apart from going to my webpage, you need to look for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That is Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The old address is not being updated, so search Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And don't forget that our program, as I said, please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every day we come by. Thank them so much. The advertisers pay the bills and the radio stations put us on. It's a wonderful, wonderful relationship. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. As I said, visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. I'm Wyatt Cox. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial, Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station.